All right, so a bit of a new look for you guys. Let me know down in the comment box what you guys think about this one. I'm really pushing uh, the limits of this Sony A6400 with the Sigma 18 to 35, but that is not why we're here. It is holiday time, or at least it will be very, very soon. And Thanksgiving's coming up, Black Friday's coming up, Amazon Prime Day's coming up. All these things are coming up within the next few weeks to months here. And we have lots and lots of tech that's also releasing. So I'm going to go through a series of videos, just a really short series, talking about the new tech in different genres. First, starting with consoles. Let's get into it. Obviously, when it comes to consoles, we only have two really to talk about, and that is the new Xbox and new PlayStation consoles. Now, you guys have already heard loads of information about it. You've heard from all kind of angles. I'm going to try to sum up a lot of things right here in one video for you guys to use for your buying, information, buying power, just so you can have all that info when you're ready to actually order the systems, because you're probably not one of the people who got one of those pre-orders, are you? Not a bad thing, because most of the time consoles, no matter which side you swing it, Sony or Xbox, are notorious for having issues on day one when it comes to release. So don't feel so bad that you didn't get a pre-order. Let's start with Xbox. So the Xbox Series S, and forgive me, I have some notes with me as well, so I'm going to be checking them as I go. When it comes to the design, the unobtrusive and minimalistic design of the Xbox is actually preferred by a lot of people. However, as I've said before, the only thing I don't like about the Xbox Series design is the fact that the top doesn't light up. I so much wanted the top concave area with all the little dots and circles in there to actually have a light underneath there that lights up when you hit the power button. I felt like it was like a missed opportunity there for Xbox, but that's just my opinion. Other than that, the design is great. The key thing you really need to know, though, is that the Xbox Series S doesn't have a Blu-ray. So if your current console is also your Blu-ray player, if you used it for that kind of function, then you probably want to get the Series X instead. Before we get into specs, it's also pretty important to note that the Series X is aimed at 4K and 8K, while the Series S is aimed at 1440p and upscaling to 4K whenever the content allows for it. Now, when it comes to the specs, we're talking AMD all the way here. Their 7nm process has improved everything across the board for both PC and console. So when it comes to the consoles, for the Xbox specifically, they're pushing 12 teraflops now in their Series X, and in their Series S, only about 4 teraflops. Now, that's not such a bad thing. Obviously, there is frequencies as well, which is only around 2 gigahertz for these CPUs. The frequency is not really important here. When it comes to consoles, you have to remember these are pre-built PCs that are made specifically to push as much graphical power out as they possibly can. So the frequency doesn't matter. The teraflops is the only thing that matters. And because of this, the Series X is able to push out 4K and also push up to about 120 frames per second, which is pretty amazing. And is also able to do 8K, but there's no frames per second given on the 8K. I'm willing to bet the 8K is probably somewhere between 30 to 60 frames per second. However, you also have to take into fact that there's HDR that's also supported here, and ray tracing on a hardware level that is also supported as well, thanks again to the improvements made over by AMD. Now, for comparison, the Xbox One X only hit about 6 teraflops. That was the last generation's top console for Microsoft for Xbox. So you can tell that, they have doubled their graphical power. So that's a pretty awesome thing. Now, for comparison, the Xbox One X only hit about 6 teraflops. And of course, all the Xboxes in that previous generation only went down from there all the way down to around 1 teraflops for the Xbox One. And of course, if you need any more confirmation that Microsoft realizes that they're building pretty much a gaming PC, just like any gaming PC of this generation, 16 gigs of memory is always the recommended level, and Microsoft has given that to you in the Series X with 16 gigs of GDDR6 and 10 gigs of GDDR6 in the Series S. Both systems are touting NVMe SSDs, which is another great thing. However, the Series X only has 1 terabyte and the Series S only has 512 gigs of storage space. in my opinion, that's just not enough. These games have went backwards in terms of optimization for storage. It seems that the message on optimizing your game to take as little space as possible has been completely lost and thrown out the window. Thankfully, you can expand the storage via USB. Both PlayStation and Xbox has USB 3.1 ports, which you can use for external drives. Yeah, plug them up. Now, the price for both these consoles is $499 for the Series X and $299 for the Series S. You know, I find it a little bit funny and also nice how the consoles don't have to worry about AIBs bloating up the price when it's time to release new hardware, like us PC users have to worry about it when it comes to GPUs. Now for the Sony PlayStation 5. In terms of design, Sony pretty much did a 180 here. They've always been pushing futuristic type looks, but they've never been this bold with it. And you guys have already heard to death, you've seen the memes. However, in my opinion, the PlayStation 5 digital looks pretty good. The PlayStation 5 with the big boy, you know, with the drive on the side, not so much. I'm not a fan of that. But if I were to be ordering the PS5 today, I would be picking up the PlayStation 5 digital. And that is because unlike Microsoft, who did a cut down version with the Series S, the PlayStation 5 console and the PlayStation 5 digital, the PS5 digital, they're both exactly the same. The only difference between them is that one has a Blu-ray drive and one does not. So what are those specs? Once again, the specs are AMD 7nm, and this time you have about 10 teraflops of GPU power, and that is allowing the PS5 to pretty much compete with the Xbox, also supporting 4K, 120Hz, HDR, and 8K. Of course, all of that is when the content allows, so the game developers have to actually support that in their game in order for you to take advantage of all that graphical power. Oddly enough, when it comes to storage, Sony decided to do a 1TB custom SSD. Apparently, it's pretty fast. However, they also allow for expansion via NVMe M.2 ports. I'm just wondering why they didn't just use NVMe in the first place. It's a little bit weird, but I'm not sure why they chose to go that route. However, you can also expand the storage even further with USB 3.1 ports and of course external drives. Now the price for the Sony consoles seemed to be directly connected to the fact that they didn't cut down the digital version in terms of specs. So now you have a price of $499 for the big PS5 and then $399 for the PS5 digital, which I think is fair considering that they didn't actually cut down the specs, they only took off the drive. Now some little things you might want to know about these consoles before you make your purchase decision. Now, this is also, of course, assuming that you are actually going for one or the other. Most people who just love games in general and have the cash usually just buy both whenever they come out, no matter the situation. Good on you if you're able to do that. But hey, this is still probably a useful video for you to just have it in one place. The backwards compatibility is a big issue as well, and Microsoft and Sony are approaching it in different ways. Now for Microsoft, they're handling backwards compatibility by using a feature called Smart Delivery. This feature is going to be enabled for both the Xbox Series consoles, the new consoles, and the current generation Xbox One Series consoles as well. So if you buy a game for your Xbox One, you should be able to also play that game on the Xbox Series consoles as well. Now, I believe that this feature has to be allowed by the developers in order for this to work. So whoever built the game has to also allow that game to have the smart delivery feature. But all the exclusives, according to Microsoft, are being placed on this feature right now. So they're trying to get this going for all their exclusive titles to be allowed across the board on both older and newer generation consoles. And that's pretty awesome. And you can also keep your saves. I say that because Sony has a bit of a different approach with backwards compatibility. For Sony, they are allowing a feature which will allow the devs, if they choose, to let the players upgrade their PS4 titles up to PS5 versions. The caveat to that is that your saves don't come along with it. So there's been some talk on Twitter and with actual developers who have said that you can upgrade to the PS5 version of your game, but the saves don't come along with it. And right now, that we're gonna have to see that as true, and that's really unfortunate. I mean, I hope that as we get closer to the real release date of the PS5, that will change. But seeing as that release date is right around the corner, I'm assuming that that is what it is. So everyone knows that Sony has not been a big fan of backwards compatibility as of late. Also, I've only mentioned the PS4, PS3, PS2, PS1. RIP. Sorry, guys. There's no mention or talk of actually allowing those older console games onto the PS5. You most likely will have to repurchase those games in a digital format in order to play them on the PS5, which has also been talked about by Sony as well. But we don't know to what extent that's going to go. We don't know if you're actually going to be able to buy those older games in digital form just yet. Not a lot of details have been released about the backwards compatibility in terms of Sony. Xbox, on the other hand, has been very vocal about their smart delivery feature, and many people are very excited about it. So we can only hope that Sony will get better when it comes to backwards compatibility. But in my opinion, at this point, I think they made it very, very clear that they just really don't care that much about supporting it at all. Xbox, if you buy directly on the Xbox website, you have the option of doing a $34.99 per month plan up to 24 months if you don't want to pay the $499.99 up front. Now, and for me, I would say always pay upfront if you can. This is a very, very last ditch effort if you have to do this, but it is nice that the option is there. That pretty much sums up the console edition of my new tech for the holidays. I will see you guys again and for the phone and the PC version very, very soon. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please go ahead and head down to the description box, hit the like button, and subscribe for more tech videos. If you're into streams, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Eshcole, and you can see me streaming all kinds of different games or chatting or whatever it is I'm doing. The link for that is also down below. Other than that, you guys have a good day. I'll see you in another video. Bye.